many established technology vendors, having had success possibly in their home market or their domestic market, want to scale internationally and expand their channel. And they're coming off of what they see as a successful baseline or successful blueprint. Can you share your experiences, for vendors that now are looking to scale up, where they may come unstuck? And I may start with you, Nehul, for this one, please.
Sure. I think one key aspect that, and I've seen both failures and successes, right? When established vendors in one geography scale and try to get into other geographies. I think one of the key aspects that I've seen them fail is, I would term it in a single word, would be localization, right? So you've got a program, you've got a process, you've got the network structure that you want, and then you slap it across unilaterally across all the geographies that you want to enter into. It never works, right? And as Justine was talking, EMEA, let's take EMEA itself. We're talking hundreds plus countries. Each country has its own nuance, its own laws, its own norms. You need to figure out what works, what doesn't work for each of those countries within that geography that you want to enter into. Most times, we have a centralized channel organization, right? So if you take EMEA, everybody's sitting in Europe somewhere and driving EMEA as a journey, but no idea how Middle East works, no idea how Africa works, right? It worked in Europe, so it should work everywhere else. The policy works in Europe, it should work everywhere else, and it doesn't, right? You need to localize, you need to understand the nuances that exist across your geographies for you to understand whether that channel program or process makes sense and whether you'll be successful or not. Second, and I think Justine did touch upon this point before, but when you enter a new market, right, you get enamored, you're gonna go after you want the biggest distributor, you want the biggest reseller to work for you, right? Whether they are the right ones or not, that's immaterial. You want the brand that is associated with them to be associated with your brand. There are 2 points, 2 issues that go with it, right? They are an established organization with as a well-oiled machine. They've got brands which they are earning revenues on. Unless and until you have a sizable revenue already coming out from that region, they won't be able to afford to even spend the effort in growing your brand. That's not their job. That won't be what they're going to look at doing, right? Second is because of that aspect, you don't look at specialized distributors or partners who could be ideally more suitable for you, who will put the effort, who are hungry for that business or that new technology, right? And they want to do good with you. And because you've gone with the bigger one, they won't come for you because you don't want to look at the smaller ones, but they actually might be more viable. But 9 out of 10 times, we've seen them go after some of the biggest names, and then a year later, it's like, you sit down, do a review, was the relationship successful? And then you figure out, oh, it didn't work. And then you go, but by then you've really lost a lot of time and effort and money in that market.
Yeah, great insights. And Justine, do you have an addition to add to that in terms of people that want to move from that successful base market into international markets, scaling up?
Just a couple of things. I totally agree with Nehul on, if you've signed a top, what we would call a broadline distributor in the US, and I go back to the US, and then you try and adopt that model instantly across EMEA, you're going to struggle. And I think the reason I believe this and have seen it is, if you still are a startup outside of your success region, so you have to act like a startup. And you need to engage with partners who are willing to work with a startup mentality. And if you consider yourself established, you're going to fail, because nobody's going to do the entrepreneurial work that needs to take place to make sure you're successful in each country. And it's absolutely true. If you already have a relationship in place with a large distributor, who openly will admit they're not the best at bringing emerging technologies to market, the people who are really good at doing that will not take on your product. So you really need to think about where you roll the contracts. And for me, that is exceptionally important. And then the other thing, if you are successful in your home market, and I've seen this with British, with German, with US and with Asian companies, we are really good at what we do. We are brilliant in our own market. and therefore we're going to be instantly brilliant when we go to the other countries. And that doesn't happen. So you arrive with a sense of arrogance and a sense of entitlement, where actually you haven't earned that in that region, and sometimes that's where vendors come get into trouble as well. We're best in our market, we've got everything working wonderfully. Why wouldn't it work in Germany? Why wouldn't it work in Spain? And you can't, we have the best references in New York, we have the best references in London. Someone in Dubai doesn't really care about that. What have you done for my region? So it's those 2 points that I really would add to what Nehul said.